Volunteering for me, like, it changed my whole life. I try and influence as many people as I can and try and push people to get involved because it does more for you, really. I feel like sometimes it's a selfish way to look at it, but for me, it did more for me than I ever did for anybody else. It really solidified my recovery and helped set in my sobriety so much when I got involved and I started giving back to the community. Really, like, for the first time in a long time, gave me some purpose.
Stories are powerful.
Welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast, brought to you by The Phoenix. This is a space where people impacted by substance use can come to share their story of strength and resilience, get open and honest, and inspire hope and build community through shared experience.
We'll be talking to people in our community on their own recovery journey and shine a light on the topic of recovery in all its forms. Maybe you'll hear some of your story in theirs.
Let's show the world that together we rise, recover, and live.
Yo, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rise, Recover, Live, the podcast. I am your host, Bryce III.
And I am your other host, Liz McKean, because we haven't found a better way to introduce me yet, so here we are.
That's on you. So you're like we're both hosts. We're
know.
Both number one hosts.
I know.
We'll figure it out.
On it. We'll figure it out. We need community feedback. Help us with our intro. Yeah. We need to intro much more formally is our guest today, who we're really honored to have on the show. Erik Miller is joining us from Arizona. Erik is works for the program out in Phoenix, Arizona. And as a person in recovery, has fitness as a really big part of his recovery. And Erik, I think we've met like one time. And so we haven't had hardly any conversation. So I kind of love this because we get to know each other and hear your story. So thank you for being here. And how are you doing today?
So good. I'm so excited to talk to y'all. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Nice. Good to see you again. Last time I seen you, I was getting tore up on a mountain bike. How is your energy, Erik?
It's amazing. I just keep having more and more things that come my way because of the Phoenix. Like you said, the last time we were hanging out, we were on some mountain bike trails up by Denver. That's one of my happy places. I just recently got to go to a big convention in Disney World. So like the Rise event and then that big convention, the Global Exchange Conference in Disney World. I'm just like, I'm full of energy and excited to bring all of that stuff back to my community, my chapter here in Arizona.
That's so awesome. Well, I mean, a big part of bringing like just giving back to the community, I think, is doing stuff like this. Because, you know, to tell your story on like a public platform, I feel like we almost kind of take it for granted after, you know, a lot of us, like team members, volunteers, staff, when you're with the Phoenix for a while, you just get used to talking about your story. And part of the joy of being, you know, on this journey is sharing it. You know, you get what you give. But like to do it on a microphone in a way that you don't even know who's going to hear it, like that's a really big deal. Like, have you done that before? Have you done this kind of thing before?
I've done a podcast before, but it was kind of in the realm of like naturopathic medicine and talking about recovery on the other side of recovery, like recovering from a workout or recovering from a competition, a CrossFit competition. So a little different, but same kind of setup, same idea.
Yeah. Well, is that, I mean, I guess we can get right kind of into your story. Like, what does recovery mean to you? I mean, clearly it has several meanings. Yeah,
it goes pretty deep for me. And it's cool to be back in Arizona because this is where I got sober. We talk about Phoenix moment a lot, right? My first like Phoenix moment was before I ever knew about the Phoenix. It was before the Phoenix ever even really existed. I started working out with a group of guys in prison, and we all just like held each other accountable. We high-fived at the end of our workouts. We made sure we were doing our reps the right way, and we like had each other's backs. And that was kind of like my first intro to having community, you know, to having people support me and want to see me succeed. So when I found the Phoenix years later, I was like, this is it. You know, this is really, really cool. This is what I started doing to first get sober and started really feeling camaraderie and community and connection.
For those who may not necessarily know exactly what a Phoenix moment is, can you break down what is a Phoenix moment?
Oh man, I don't know if I'll get this right, but for me, it's just like an awareness, an awakening to just being in a situation where you have support around you. You are part of the community and you're part of that support for other people. There's some magic in the like giving back to others and like being a part of that support network and like getting victories together. For me, it was like getting pull-ups, getting some of my first ever pull-ups and having people around me that were like cheering and excited that I got it. I see it in my events all the time where, people make it to the mountain or the top of the mountain for the first time ever. And there's high fives and pictures and stuff on top of that mountain. That to me is a Phoenix moment where you realize there's something greater in that community and in the people that are around you and that are like-minded and want to see you succeed and you want to see them succeed.
Mm.
I'd say you got that right. I think that might be the most right way I've ever heard that described. I love that so much. I've been fortunate to have a few conversations lately with some other folks that are part of the recovery community that also were justice impacted, like have been in prison for very many years. And I know that's part of your story. And one of the things that they were telling me was just that the through line, even if you had people that were right beside you that, you were with for, maybe you shared a bunk with for a long, long time and, you would do anything for each other, there still was just like this bone-piercing loneliness that was just kind of always present. How like little things that would kind of like make that feel less hard. And that would, for a lot of folks, especially that kind of find this community, I think fitness is the vehicle that gets them there. So I'm just wondering if even before that Phoenix moment, like when you did, if that even was the same experience, if you had that experience when you were in prison, if that was something that fitness was able to do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that like a lot of people that have been either, any kind of incarceration, like jail, prison, whatever, like you experience that separation from your old life, from your family, from your loved ones. For me, that was like the true point where I was able to really wake up. I was like, I don't ever want to feel this again. I want to find a way to do the opposite of what I was doing that wound me up here. So I started really looking at the decisions I was making and trying to flip that, trying to do some different stuff so that I didn't have to experience. But yeah, I see that in a lot. And then like the friendships that you make, the camaraderie, we call it a car. We had a car that was all working together during the workouts. Like pushing each other to do one more push-up or do one more burpee or one more pull-up. There's a different sense of like brotherhood and camaraderie in there. I feel that in the Phoenix too. Like there's a lot of criminal justice impacted folks that come to my events and you see that they're looking to reconnect. And the Phoenix has been a really cool way to kind of ease back into that connection back in society.
Nice. So as somebody who doesn't know your entire story or even how you define recovery, give me a little bit of background on, how you came to find this way of life and some of your experience prior to where it is that you are now.
Yeah, I think a lot of my substance use came from trying to fit in somewhere, try and feel like I belong somewhere. And really originally looking for a connection was where some of that stuff started. And it's real easy as a teenager to find connection in substance use, in drinking and whatever drugs we were getting into back when I was a teenager. And that kind of just led me down a path of trying to support that in any way that I could. I started, committing some crimes and stuff. And it just led me down a really horrible path that was centered around the substance, which for me was crystal meth was my main thing that I got into. And I kind of didn't care about anything else. The recovery part of that for me was figuring out all the damage that I was doing to my friends, my family members, my loved ones, to myself in that, and really trying to find a way to get myself out of that. The fitness aspect was really important because it was one thing that caused me to be present. While I was doing a push-up, I was counting out my reps and I was right there in the moment. I wasn't thinking about what was going to be coming up later for me or what I had been through in the past. So just that one thing that took me out of my anxiety or my depression that was there from my past mistakes was a really positive thing for me. So just moving and being in that present moment was super important for me.
Yeah. That's, I'm reading this book. It's a Pima Chodron book. I couldn't tell you the name of it right now, but it's hitting hard in this season of my life because it's certain things that are really cyclical. They continue. It's patternistic, and I don't have the best time with them. And these can be identifications, what it is I identify as, or it could be the perpetuation of beliefs that don't necessarily serve me. And so this book is kind of talking about like a little bit of what you're talking about, Eric, where it's like leaning into those things in such a way that when those, like learning to see when those inclinations occur, like, oh, talk that language that you've been talking, or do that thing like eat sugar, or the thing that after you do it, it always feel like crap, but you do it anyway. And then you talk about you have a trouble, and then you haven't struggle with sugar. Like you keep doing it over and over again. Learn to notice those moments. And when you notice those moments, do something out of the ordinary, like just different. And so like and this is an announcement to the world, but like within the past couple of days, like I've been running a little bit. And I'm not no runner or nothing like that, but it's just like, instead of doing this thing that every time I do it, it's like, man, and then I'm just sitting around like, man, nothing's changing and everything sucks and I need new energy. Instead of doing that, like, it's like, well, maybe I run around the block. I haven't done that. So even though I definitely don't want to do that, like, let me do that. And then, but it's crazy when I do that, it's like, oh, I did that. And now I'm like this different person and you've changed your trajectory. And so that kind of sounds a bit like parallel to what it is that you share, where it's like, getting where your feet are, doing these push-ups. No longer are you tapping into the unpredictable future where there's a lot of anxiety, or an unchangeable past where that can turn into depression. But like, you're right here where all the change could be made, and playing that role into like that change in yourself.
Yeah, changing your perspective. That was the thing for me. Was my perspective was like the victim. It was, what was me? I need to self-medicate. I need all of these things. But when I took myself out of that scenario and changed my perspective and was able to focus on what was right in front of me, or what I was doing in that present moment, it changed all of that stuff. It let all of that fade, and I was able to just move forward.
And that's crazy, because like perspective shifts, even like with conscious awareness around shifting perspective, I personally have experienced a catalyst. And usually for me, my catalyst is like desperation. It's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't know what I'm about to do moving forward, but it can't be this, because this is horrible. Like, I can't live like this anymore. Like, it's like I'm throwing in the towel, and that desperation leads me to take a different action, which causes for that shift in perspective. So what was your catalyst that got you from thinking how you were thinking, where it's like, look, all I was focused on was the crystal meth, and I didn't care about nothing else, to like looking at the ways that you affected the people around you? Like, what caused that shift for you? What was that catalyst?
I don't know if there was just one. I had, a few pretty big things that happened that were like trying to wake me up for a while. I was living in a halfway house and walked to work about 3 or 4 miles every day. And I got jumped one morning walking to work, and this dude stabbed me. And I ended up in ICU for about 5 days.
Sheesh.
And I had a lot of time while I was like sitting in ICU to think about what I was doing with my life and how I got to that point. That like near death experience was kind of like the beginning of waking me up. And then really, I wound up in prison after that. When I found myself in prison, I was like, okay, like that was the final thing. I really needed to make some real changes. Like seeing my mom come in and visit me. My grandma came in and visited me, and like, you can just see, they were excited to see me, but you could see the sadness in their eyes and in their face and stuff when they had to come through and visit me in a prison visitation where I'm in an orange jumpsuit. Like that wasn't how I wanted to spend time with my family. That wasn't how I wanted to see or be seen by, my grandmother and stuff. So I think just like those little things, and I had a ton of other little things along the way that I was like, man, what am I doing? I need to make some changes.
Yeah. What are those relationships like now that you're living this whole different life? How did that progress? Like, how did you change that sadness in their eyes to the, I'm sure, pride that they have now?
Oh man. Yeah, it's been really, really cool. I have so much support from my family, so much support from like the people that were there and like saw me go through all that and see where I'm at now. My mom's running Phoenix events out in Hawaii.
In Hawaii?
She does.
That's great.
Yeah. So she lives in Maui and she does a beach cleanup once a week out there. And she couldn't be more proud of what I do. And she just wants to jump all in and like help the movement move forward and volunteer and be a part of it. It's really cool to see.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It feels like, that's where you get it, because not only did you have these experiences that allowed you to like change your life, but now you're one of the people that like reaches back and changes the lives of other people. And clearly your mom does the same thing. She's out there like cleaning up beaches, getting involved in the Phoenix, things like that. Like that's cool. When did that start? Like, have you always been the person that wants to just like give back to other people, or like just be a leader, or did that happen? Did that kind of just suddenly turn around and you're like, look at this, I'm a leader. I'm somebody people look up to.
Yeah, no, I think that has really only happened in the last like 3 years that I've been a part of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I can pinpoint when that happened. So one of the other guys that was incarcerated at the same time as me got out and started a CrossFit gym in Texas. And he ended up with 2 locations. And like later on in his life, he ended up overdosing. And when that happened, that triggered something inside of me where I was like, I need to get more involved. I need to do something to like help further the recovery community, to help like spread awareness that there are people that are suffering, and like we can do better. So when that happened, I just started volunteering with the Phoenix. I was just doing 1 class a week. So I was just volunteering 1 hour a week at a CrossFit gym. It has been amazing. It's turned into so many other like roles and so many other things that have happened for me within the Phoenix, in Colorado, and now in Arizona. It really has been amazing. That person was a huge influence on my life. Like started working out, got me into CrossFit. And then, now like even in his passing influenced me to get with the Phoenix and start working here. It's been just an amazing influence for me.
What does your role look like now? Like when you're as like, what is your day to day in the community of the Phoenix?
My new official title is Volunteer Success Coordinator.
That's fancy.
Which it is fancy. I like it. I am like really, truly fortunate and blessed to have the people around me that I have here in Arizona, because we've had volunteers just step up like I've never seen before. And our volunteers are running with it. They are amazing. Yeah. And just really getting creative with the kind of events, things that I never would have thought would be a Phoenix event are happening with great numbers, like big turnouts. Yeah. We had a foam party just with a sober DJ and a big foam cannon. And we had 100 people come out to that as a Phoenix event. That was amazing.
We might need to start going. We're going to Arizona, Bryce. Like, man, we got to take this podcast on the road.
Yeah, we had this giant, it's probably like a 2-foot radius, like cannon that shoots out foam or like bubbles.
Like bubbles? Okay.
I'll send you guys some pictures, but we filled this whole dance floor with like 3 or 4 feet of foam. And then we just had people in there dancing and, enjoying music. And just kind of like hanging out and socializing, having a good time in this giant like pile of foam.
Wow.
It was really cool. Like good music and just dancing and fun. And 100 people there for that was amazing for us.
That's wild.
So now that we're there, let's talk about the community in AZ. Like what does the recovery community look like out there? And, you said that's where you got sober, right? Yep. So like, what is the community out there? I'm pretty sure it's a lot different than Detroit.
I think it is. Yeah, it's we've really been welcomed with open arms. When we showed up, just me walking in wearing a Phoenix t-shirt into a couple different places, a lot of people were like, finally. We've been waiting for the Phoenix to come here. So it's been a really warm reception at all different kinds of places that we've gone to out here. Yeah. And there's a lot of other organizations and groups and individuals in the community that are seeing that there's a big problem here, and they're really trying to step up and make some change. And it's been cool to be able to be a part of that and link up and have some partnerships and meet just really the most amazing people that are already been doing the work when I got here and that are really aligned. So it's a real cool community here. I'm fortunate.
And you're in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
That's very confusing.
That's the thing. Like I've got that so many times. Like, so are you all in Phoenix? It's like, as a matter of fact, we are.
Yeah. Everyone thinks we started here. I'm like, no, it just happens to be the name. We just got here like, a year and a half ago. So
that's cool. Well, and every time I go to Denver, our Phoenix headquarters is in Denver. So like, if for any reason you have to go there, I'll say, I'm going to the Phoenix or something, and then people call and ask how the weather is in Phoenix. Like, wait, no, I definitely got you confused that time. But yeah,
Yep.
different Phoenix. It's cool that we're there though. It feels right. And I also love that you said that there's these other organizations too, because I feel like that's just happening, more and more. It was just not very long ago, and still in a lot of communities that they're fortunate to have a handful of 12-step meetings, super excited if there's some really great treatment centers, and some places there's really not even enough of those things. And now suddenly we have all these other opportunities because there are people like you and like the people that are listening right now who know what's best for their community better than anybody else does. Like it makes me so happy when I hear about like something like a foam party, because there's plenty of places in the world that you talk about a foam party. I think maybe Detroit, and they'd be like, "What the heck are you? What is this foam that you're shooting at?"
What is going on? It is 30 degrees, sir. Get this foam cannon out of here.
Oh my God.
It's good for people like me that can't really dance. Like it kind of covers up my lack of
covers
dance
up the
skills.
feet.
Just shaking off the
Yeah,
foam.
So you can move with the top of your body, and it's like, oh, he got some moves.
That's
Exactly. Yeah.
amazing.
Your mom's out here volunteering. You got a thriving community in Phoenix. Everybody's stepping up, going hard. What do you think is some of the most important aspects of volunteerism? Like, how's volunteerism changed your life? How have you seen it change the lives of others? And why is it important that people get involved?
Man, for me, it really solidified my recovery and helped set in my sobriety so much when I got involved and I started giving back to the community. But it's really I feel like sometimes it's a selfish way to look at it. But for me, it did more for me than I ever did for anybody else, to be able to like lead an event and to put an event together as a volunteer and just to get involved. Like I got so much out of it. I learned so much from the people that attended. Felt like I was doing something meaningful. Really, like for the first time in a long time, gave me some purpose. When I got out of prison, I thought I was never going to have a good career. I thought I was never going to have a good job. I didn't think I would really be able to do much in my life that was impactful for other people. And when I found the Phoenix and started volunteering, that all changed. I felt like my story was important. Like I had a different level of connection with people in our community that had been through what I've been through and could talk to me about what they're dealing with, and just wanted to come work out with somebody that was like-minded and been through similar experiences. Volunteering for me, like it changed my whole life. I try and influence as many people as I can and try and push people to get involved, because it does more for you really than any other thing that you can do.
Around here we call it a selfish selflessness.
Yeah. I like that.
And I think for me, and I'm sure Liz can speak to it too, like being here for like my program in recovery is 12-step. So continuing to go to 12-step meetings, even though I don't have the inclination to drink, like I do it because I need to be there for the newcomer who may see, qualifications within me as like, oh, I relate to this guy. I want to work with this guy. And that may cause that person to stick around. When I first came in, like doing stuff like staying after the meeting did more for my recovery than anything, because it's like, how can I be of help? How can I be of service? And yes, it was because like I had got beaten to desperation to the point where it's like, look, like if this will keep me sober, like I'm willing to do anything. But, you become, like how you said, you got out of prison, and it was like, how can I be a part of society? And, where we once were a menace to society, now we're a contribution to it. And nobody has the access to do it because it's part of our internal mechanism. And I think that's the beauty. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being on both sides of the fence. Coming from taking away and always having a handout and seeing what can be done for us, and always trying to fill our pockets, and it's all about us, to going to where it was like, I've had experience with that and I think that didn't work. So like, what if I try, do you need some help? Or what if I try like, well, I can stay after, or what if I try to raise my hand, So yeah, no, I definitely agree 100%. And volunteerism has changed my life and the lives of like many other people around me, for sure.
Well,
yeah, I think I had a lot of guilt too. I had a lot of, like, I carried around a lot of weight with me from like my poor decisions in the past and the things that wound me up in prison. And it was a huge vehicle for like letting go of some of that guilt too. If I was giving back a little bit, like maybe it was balancing out some of the stuff that I took from society too.
It's funny that you said that, because the thing that popped right into my head is, one of the things that is kind of required of you, if you are to offer help, is to have some inkling of a belief that you have something to offer, and I feel like that's something that's really stripped away from us in a lot of the experiences that we have during, addiction, and certainly in incarceration, and also just in like 1,000, like all those tiny little cuts that happen over time where you're just, getting just terrible experiences and trauma, and then just like letting yourself down over and over. And then the moment that you can say like, hey, yeah, I can help you, or hey, let me actually ask you if I can help you before maybe you even ask me, like that's like just that little ember, is getting some oxygen that's going to turn into a flame of like your self-worth. And I mean, you're an incredibly humble person, Erik. Like every single thing that you've talked about that has been a really incredible thing that you do, like something to be really, I feel like you have a lot to be really proud of. Like, do you feel proud of yourself? And if you do, what do you feel most proud of?
It's hard for me. I don't really look at it like that.
I know. I think that's hard for
I'm
us to all say.
Yeah, I'm proud of my community. I'm proud that I'm a part of it, and I'm proud that I get to influence, some of the things that happen here. But I don't know. I don't look at it like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what's great is you're talking about like the having something to offer, right? Realizing that you have something to offer. That's what's great about the Phoenix is you could have anything to offer. Like if your thing is like, we have a volunteer that likes to roller skate here. She's like, let's do a roller skating event. Boom. We had 50 people come out to roller skate. Like who knew that would be the thing that like blew up on the calendar, but whatever you have, like you have something to offer, something that you're passionate about can be a Phoenix event. And it's like just seeing that movement start, seeing that spark, or like you use the word ember, just seeing that little spark move forward and ignite like other people to be passionate about bringing their thing in and putting it on the calendar. Like that's what I'm proud of, is seeing people be able to basically like take over and start their own little community around whatever it is that they love.
I totally agree. Yeah, when somebody is able to see that like they are capable of doing that, and to then see other people follow them, and then it just it's a whole, what is it called, domino effect that is just really beautiful. It's changing the world.
The ripple effect.
Thank you, domino. What is the other thing I was thinking of that I'm picturing in Arizona in a
domino
desert?
Effect too.
It's a thing in a desert.
The tumbleweed?
Yeah. Oh, that's not the right word at all.
No, I don't think it is.
And this is the portion of the program that Liz says she's had 2 hours of sleep and was on a plane for a lot of the day. So sorry, everybody. But we made it.
And so with that, we will get to Liz's magnificent unicorn, popcorn, fruit snack rant.
So we've officially run out of adjectives. I'm hearing.
No more adjectives.
None left.
Her special question. Liz, go ahead. Take it away.
Oh boy. So Erik, I feel like you've said a lot of things that we could just put right in as the answer to this question. But every time you open your mouth, it's something that I really just want to hold on to a quote. So I'm excited to hear if you could pull back the curtain of time and just send a message to a previous version of yourself that needs to hear some words that only you now could give. What might you say to that previous version of yourself?
I've actually used this as an icebreaker for one of my coffee socials.
Whoa.
And,
that would just be the whole social.
Yeah, but I think like where I went with this during that is similar to how I still feel. I think the things that we experience, we need to experience to get to where we are now. I would tell that version of myself, like, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this and you're going to come out the other side a better version of yourself and become the person that you're meant to be, kind of through some of these trials and through some of the things that you're having to learn the hard way a little bit. Yeah. But it's going to create an opportunity for you to be able to share with other people and to be able to grow and be a part of an amazing movement that I feel like is just going to sweep the nation and the planet here in the next couple of years. We already see it, but just basically like embrace those moments and learn what you can. You have something special to offer to the future communities and future people that you're going to be a part of their lives, and they're going to be a part of your life.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. If you're hearing that now out there in the podcast community, that's for you too. There's big things to come. And I think all of us need to remind ourselves of that sometimes, because we're just putting one foot in front of the other and sometimes just running around the block if we're not sure where that next foot should go. And that can change everything. Well, Erik, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so great to get to talk to you and get to know you. And thanks for your patience with technology. And Bryce, it's all good to see you always too.
And to our listeners, if you could pop over to the podcast group in the app, and what was your favorite nugget from this episode? Also, let us know, what we doing that you appreciate and what could we get rid of? Come talk to us, come hold that conversation. And I'm starting to see a little bit more conversation going on in that podcast group. So I'm excited that you all are engaging, and I hope to see you in there.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. And as always, please be sure you subscribe on wherever you are listening to podcasts. If you'd be so kind as to give us a rating, give us a review, please send this episode to a friend. There are so many gems that so many people need to hear. We're so grateful that you're here week after week and can't wait to see you next time, which we will. So until then, bye-bye.
So now you're excited. Bryce, Liz, how do I get involved with the Phoenix? Well, my friend, it is super simple. We actually have an app. Head over to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or look in the show notes of this podcast, wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, and go download the Phoenix app.
The Phoenix app makes it so easy to find classes that are near you or to access our virtual class schedule where you can hop on from the comfort of your home. You can also join our groups and have a conversation with someone from the Phoenix community from anywhere in the world. Please make sure that you join the podcast group where you can connect with Bryce and I and other listeners. Everything that you need is in the show notes. You can also head to our website at www.thephoenix.org. And maybe while you're there, you click the volunteer tab and get even more involved.